We kick off with Rick Gladiator, our 32-year-old former guild clerk, being mercilessly pummeled by his elite trainers. Imagine a get fit or get beaten seminar where every punch, kick, and magic blast is delivered with a wink and a nod as his mentors break his body to rebuild it into pure strength. Now it's time for Rick to face the real world of adventuring. He's nervous as he attempts to fulfill his lifelong dream of becoming an adventurer. Upon arriving at the guild for his preliminary exam, our middle-aged hero finds himself surrounded by wide-eyed teens and a few snarky nobles. Despite being labeled as an F-rank candidate, his 2 years of brutal training make him a force to be reckoned with. His entrance leaves the examiners questioning whether age really matters when you can shatter walls with a single punch. In a hilarious twist, Angelica, an aspiring B-rank knight with more heart than coordination, and the sister of a snot-nosed noble kid from the exam, challenges him to a duel for making her little brother cry. The stakes are ludicrous. The loser becomes the winner's eternal servant. As Angelica fumbles with her fancy moves and the uneven arena floor conspires against her, Rick casually lands a punch that literally creates a crater. Angelica wisely surrenders, and as she attempts to leave, Rick casually reminds her of their bet. With a gust of speed, she becomes Usain Bolt, fleeing the arena and probably screaming out, "I won't let you off easy next time!" Just when tension subsides, the episode ends with Rick's friend and fellow guild member Rionette reminding him that his ex-trainers, the remaining guild members, are on their way to check up on him. Rick's reaction, an amusing mix of dread and disbelief, reminding us all that no matter how invincible you get, there's always an orc, a playboy half-dwarf, and a psycho child with untold magical power that are stronger. After barely scraping through his preliminary exam and still wondering if his 32-year-old self really belongs among wide-eyed teens, Rick learns he's qualified for the second phase, a mock battle exam. The stakes are low, but the tension is high as every F-rank examinee now dreads meeting the F-rank crusher. Strangely enough, Rick's still feeling a bit insecure about his underdog status, despite his secret S-rank training. Almost immediately, Rick encounters Raster Diarmuit, the F-rank crusher, a smug A-rank adventurer, Angelica's elder brother and eldest son of the noble house Diarmuit. With a scent of cologne that could knock out a horse, Raster wastes no time in flaunting his superiority. He even goes as far as hitting on Rick's ever-loyal friend, Rionette, the bloody cheek of this guy. Quick-thinking Rick pretends to be her boyfriend, earning mixed reactions of amusement and irritation from Raster. A bit later, while Raster nurses his bruised ego, his siblings, Freed and Angelica, burst onto the scene, sobbing about some 40-ish oaf who's been bullying them. Their dramatic outburst triggers the appointment of a B-rank examiner, Lynx Laurent, who's supposed to handle exam takers numbered 4,200 and above, and in a quirky twist of fate, Rick and Lynx bond over their shared late bloomer status. Just when things seem to be on the up, news breaks. Lynx has suddenly fallen ill. The exam organizers then announce, much to Rick's horror, that Raster will now be his examiner. The room fills with whispers and wide-eyed stares, as everyone dreads the wrath of the F-rank crusher. Rick's self-doubt spikes, making him question if his brutal training will actually be enough. Just as Rick gears up, with a pep talk from the ever-stoic Rionette, to face his exam head-on, a fortune teller appears, who, spoiler alert, is none other than Freed in disguise. In a moment that's as baffling as it is hilarious, Rick is tricked into sitting on a chair imbued with teleporting magic. In an instant, he's whisked away to a remote spot where Raster's personal guards are lurking, ready to dispatch him. Just when things seem dire, the cavalry arrives, Rick's fellow guildmates from the legendary Orichalcum Fist. The trio crash the party and effortlessly take out Raster's guards. Meanwhile, Rionette nearly loses her cool, demanding to know where Freed has teleported Rick. With seconds to spare, our hero makes a triumphant return, albeit still reeling from the absurdity of it all. Rick learns that Raster not only commandeered his exam, but also beat up Lynx to prevent him from being his examiner. What really sets Rick off is Raster's dismissive jab at Lynx's dream of building a school for kids in his home village. As he walks into the arena, it's time for the F-rank crusher to get a taste of some of Rick's real power. The episode kicks off with Raster, the smug A-rank noble, parading his high-level nature-composed magics in front of the entire arena, including the Orichalcum Fist. Even one of the receptionists shows up to watch the match, and here we see a true battle of titans, melons versus melons in a tale for the ages. Meanwhile, with every flashy spell he throws, Raster tries to rile up Rick. But our Ossan protagonist, still a bit self-doubting, clings to Rionette's sage advice. Keep calm and think rationally, even if that means enduring endless gloating from a guy who clearly overestimates his magical reserves. In a moment of cheeky exposition, we learn why Rick's magical reserves are as low as a receptionist's pay. Because Rick started adventuring late. After all, magical reserves should be built before hitting 30. His trainers instead focused on honing his physical strength, body control, and magic control. In other words, while Raster hoards a massive mana pool, Rick has been trained to death, literally. He dies a few times, only to be resurrected via some space-time magic shenanigans. It's a ludicrous yet oddly efficient recipe for turning a middle-aged clerk into a secret S-rank powerhouse. Back in the exam arena, Raster unleashes his high-level nature-composed magics, expecting to intimidate Rick. But our hero, brushing off each dazzling attack like it's just another Tuesday, shows he's got nerves of steel. In a stunning twist, Rick realizes Raster's impressive mana is his only trump card because he's terrible at everything else. With a calm demeanor, Rick counters Raster's formidable Yggdrasil God Impact, a level 8 spell, with a simple, breezy, level 1 air shot. The result? Raster is obliterated in a flash, leaving the onlookers, and Raster's own ego, in utter shock. After the explosive duel, Rick stumbles into the hallway where Raster and his siblings, the ever-quirky Diarmwits, are waiting. Here, the air is thick with a mix of grudging respect and lingering hostility. Raster, never one to lose face, vows to be Rick's examiner again, because apparently nothing says, "I'm better than you," like scheduling a rematch. Meanwhile, the rest of the Orichalcum Fist, along with a more empathetic Angelica, finally start to see Rick as a legitimate adventurer rather than just a desk-bound Ossan with a big heart. As the celebrations die down, Rick, along with Rionette, nervously listens to the ongoing announcement of exam numbers. Their eyes are fixed on the coveted number 4242, a detail that promises more epic twists to come. It's a cliffhanger that leaves us wondering where Rick's journey will take him next. The episode kicks off with Rick and Rionette eagerly awaiting the announcement. We get a nostalgic flashback to a young Rick as he reads tales of adventurers and heroes and dreamt of becoming one himself one day, even defeating the fearsome Kaiser Alsapiet, though his parents insisted that fighting monsters was a bit much for a kid. Fast forward to adult Rick, now a guild receptionist with a permanently unactivated special marker. His childhood ambitions are buried under years of mundane work and bitter reality. One fateful night, fueled by a potent mix of alcohol and pent-up frustration, Rick tries to play the hero by protecting a lady from a giant troll. Spoiler alert, he's no match for the troll until fate intervenes. Just as Rick is about to get his ass handed to him by the troll, the ever-impressive Rionette Elfet, an S-rank adventurer, effortlessly defeats the beast. Instead of gloating, she coolly advises Rick that maybe, just maybe, it's a little late for him to chase those adventuring dreams. Embarrassed but determined, Rick flips the script by asking her for a date. "Get in there, son. If you can't be a hero, at least try romance." On their date night, Rick is floating on cloud 9, but unfortunately, things take a turn for the chaotic. The town is attacked by a fresh wave of monsters. Rionette dispatches most of them with her usual flair, but then a dragon appears. The sight of the dragon sends Rionette into a state of paralysis, thanks to some deep-rooted childhood trauma. Meanwhile, B-rank adventurers, including Rick's buddy Zaid, try to help but end up retreating because, well, Guild rules on dragons are as strict as they come. With his date and the town's safety hanging in the balance, Rick makes a bold, "this is it" decision. He confronts the dragon head-on, fully expecting to meet his demise. In a dramatic and epic moment, the dragon stomps him, only to trigger Rick's long-dormant marker. Suddenly, his hidden inborn power ignites, and in an almost comically anticlimactic twist, a level 1 air shot decapitates the mighty beast. Rionette and the onlookers are left in total shock, and maybe a little bit of awe. The intensity takes its toll. Rick faints right after his dragon-slaying debut. When he awakens a week later, he learns from a concerned Rionette that his magic circuits were almost completely destroyed in the process, leaving him, quite literally, close to dead. Yet, miraculously, he survived. With a mix of relief and renewed determination, Rionette offers him a chance to join her elite party, the Orichalcum Fist. With tears streaming down his face, Rick accepts. His dream of becoming a hero may finally come true. In the final scene, Rick's number gets called. He is now officially an adventurer. The episode opens with Lynx making his way through a dark and foreboding forest. While recovering from the beating he received from Raster, he was invited to Rick's home and Orichalcum's guild headquarters. Worried about the loose cannons in his guild, Rick asks Lynx to be fully armored on his visit. An important piece of advice, because as soon as the unwitting visitor walks through the door, he and Rick are greeted by the cute and dangerously excitable genius mage, Alyssarette Drakwell. Alyssarette wants to play, and so she fires off an explosive spell which Rick quickly defends against. Rionette tells Alyssarette that the repairs to the damage she's caused will be taken from her food budget, causing the little terror to beg for forgiveness. It's as though someone said to Lynx, "Welcome to Orichalcum Fist. Baby go boom!" Lynx sets off on his own to explore the grounds and hopefully meet the remaining 2 members of Orichalcum Fist. He first encounters Mizette Eldwarf, the half-elf, half-dwarf master engineer and king of gooners. Soon enough, Mizette has Lynx testing out his new creation, a rocket launcher powered by magic. Next, Lynx finds the last, and perhaps the most powerful member of the guild, Broston Ashork, an orc whose physical power is only matched by his intelligence and kind nature. Thinking he's finally found a reasonable member, Lynx asks Broston for some training, and the orc happily agrees to it. Upon finding out where Lynx has gone, Rick is struck with terror as he knows the training Broston provides can literally reunite you with your ancestors. With all introductions complete, everyone shares a hearty meal and drinks later on that evening, during which we find out that the main goal of the Orichalcum Fist is to find and defeat the powerful and fearsome Kaiser Alsapiet by locating the Dragon Balls, 6 jewels that lead to his location. A few days later, back at the Adventurers Guild, Rick, Alyssarette, and Broston accept a quest to defeat some monsters on the outskirts of town. Needing at least 4 participants, they recruit a spirited Ray Lucas, an F-rank adventurer with aspirations of becoming an S-rank hero someday. To the shock and awe of Ray, the monsters are effortlessly defeated. And as she ponders what occurred, she's even more determined to become stronger herself. The Orichalcum Fist has acquired the first jewel, and as they set their sights on their next destination, the scene ends with an old acquaintance ready for her own new adventure. Rick, Broston, and Rionette roll into the bustling city of Heractopia, a place where neon banners, sweaty gym posters, and loud announcers scream about the upcoming Fist King tournament. As they ponder how to begin their search for the next jewel, they notice a cat lady named Militia uncomfortably being rizzed by a bald-headed pugilist named Gold. Never one to refuse a test of strength, Broston discreetly gives Gold some slaps to correct his behavior. Now Gold refers to Broston as his big bro, completely captivated by him. Militia is also captivated, but for other reasons. Amid the chaotic energy, they learn that the Yellow King stone, embedded in the champion's belt, is actually one of the 6 jewels they are after. The current champ, Kelvin Erwolf, is flaunted like a celebrity, and our trio quickly realizes that to nab the belt and the orb, they must prove themselves in a brutal elimination system. Before they can even think about the tournament proper, Rick, and Broston too, must earn their stripes by battling through local gym qualifiers. In Rick's very first match, he unexpectedly faces none other than his old rival, Angelica Diarmuid. In an anticlimactic moment, the usually fierce knight dramatically throws in the towel, surrendering not out of defeat, but sheer terror at facing a middle-aged man who might just be a secret powerhouse. Rick, bemused and slightly apologetic, can't help but wonder if he's accidentally become too intimidating for his own good. In the next scene, Angelica confronts Rick, demanding to know why he's here of all places. Is he stalking her because he's secretly in love with her? Or does he have a vendetta against her because of her brother? Over a cordial meal, Rionette and Rick explain their reasons for getting involved in the tournament. However, Angelica remains tight-lipped about her reasons. Now comes the ultimate qualification hurdle. Rick must defeat 40 opponents in 1 week before even getting a chance at the West League. Cue the beatdowns. First, he squares up against a cheating combatant who hides explosive crystals in his shoe. Unfortunately for this dingbat, the crystal does absolutely nothing to the very sturdy Rick, but instead smashes the cheater's own hand, and with a powerful blow that deliberately misses the target's face, the sheer shockwave puts Rick's opponent to sleep. In the final scenes, we see the current champion in training, as he eagerly looks forward to some tough competition. We also see Broston making his way to the other town to begin his own qualification matches. Who will become the new Fist King champion? Stay tuned for the next episode. The episode opens in the bustling arena of Heractopia, where the local qualifiers are in full swing. We see Angelica Diarmuid, the ever-formidable knight, finishing her 40th match with such effortless precision that it seems she's been training since she was in diapers. Her moves are a dazzling mix of grace and power, like a seasoned ballerina who swaps her tutu for a set of brass knuckles. Meanwhile, Rick is on a mission to prove that late blooming doesn't mean late to the party. Determined to complete 40 matches in record time, we watch a fast-paced Rick zip to the next location hundreds of miles away as Angelica watches with incredulity. Ensuring that she doesn't miss any of Rick's fights, Rionette offers to transport Angelica to the next arena. With grace and power, she carries the shocked knight as they leap over buildings. We get a montage of Rick blazing through his fights, as well as the now unconscious Angelica being transported from pillar to post. As Rick continues with his matches, Rionette and the now worn-out Angelica enjoy some tea and cakes at a restaurant. As they get to know each other, a waiter suddenly appears at their table, begging our two beautiful ladies for their assistance. Meanwhile, just when Rick thinks he's cruising toward qualification glory, he bumps into a tournament sponsor. This suave and somewhat suspicious character casually mentions how impressed he is with Rick's performance. On his way back to find Rionette and Angelica, Rick is shocked to find them dressed in bunny outfits. It seems the restaurant was in need of some beautiful ladies to help with the ongoing celebrations. The sight of Rionette leaves Rick speechless, and as the two stare at each other, it's obvious that there may be some love in the air. The scene shifts as we get a quick flashback about Kelvin Erwolf, the current Fist King champion. A street brawler when he was younger, a trainer saw his potential, and with the young Kelvin's eagerness to fight strong opponents and become stronger himself, he accepts the offer. Meanwhile, Rick nonchalantly mentions the tournament sponsor's name, and Angelica's face turns as dark as a power outage, as if a secret grudge is being reawakened. Angelica's thoughts leave her distracted, causing her to lose her next match. Later, Rick pesters Angelica until she divulges the truth to him. Her parents died when she was a child, leaving them in serious debt. The only way out was to agree to an arranged marriage with the tournament sponsor in exchange for him taking on the debt. Angelica seeks to win the tournament and use the prize money to free herself and family from this engagement. The episode ends with Rick and Angelica confronting the sponsor's unruly brother and tournament favorite in a bar. But just before things kick off, the sponsor appears, putting an end to any out-of-tournament fights. The episode kicks off with Angelica beginning her training by Rick. Unfortunately for her, she didn't expect the training to be so diabolical. By training day 5, Angelica has had enough of this boot camp for sadists. Clearly trying to make a break for it, she serenely sips tea in a cafe. Rick, ever the determined mentor, tracks her down in classic late bloomer style, delivering a pep talk that's equal parts motivational speech and sarcastic ribbing about not running away from your own potential. Maybe he should have said, "No one can escape death," instead. Not willing to let Angelica quit on her dreams, or her duty to slice through mediocrity, Rick summons Rionette for an emergency training session. With weapons banned in the upcoming tournament, they improvise by teaching Angelica to treat her own limbs like razor-sharp blades. Think Kung Fu meets kitchen knife. Her training takes over a month, and by Angelica's next match, she's a walking, talking, destructive force, effortlessly smashing through her next opponents. They've turned our prim and proper knight into a raging beast, and as Angelica reflects on her choices, Mizette and Aliceret crash the meeting. Their orb-hunting quest has ended in a bust, leaving them sheepish but, strangely enough, still in good spirits. Soon enough, Broston makes his entrance, and the full team is here. The failed expedition serves as a reminder that even the best adventurers sometimes miss the mark, but they always return with a good story. The climax of the episode arrives as the Fist King tournament kicks off. Rick, Broston, and Kelvin breeze through their initial bouts with their signature mix of over-the-top moves and nonchalant power. The atmosphere is electric, with flashy announcers, roaring crowds, and a gym that looks more like an arena for gladiators than a training facility. Meanwhile, all eyes turn to Angelica, who, armed with her newly honed blade techniques, steps into the ring to face off against Geith, the brother of one of the tournament sponsors, who she's betrothed to. Her match promises a blend of intense combat and a test of her newly discovered strength and resolve. The episode kicks off with a reveal. Rionette finally teaches Angelica her signature thread slicer move. With grace and precision, Angelica lands a slick blow on the formidable fighter Geith, proving that even a knight with royal airs can master a move that sounds more like a sewing hack than a combat technique. Just when it seems Angelica's victory is sealed, disaster nearly strikes. Geith, not one to take a hit lying down, counters fiercely. The battle is brutal and intense, and though Angelica shows her fighting spirit, pushing through her injuries to fight on, Geith proves to be too formidable an opponent for our determined knight. Geith delivers the final blow to Angelica, thus sealing his victory. With adrenaline pumping, Rick vows on the spot to settle the score in a rematch, one that he promises will be witnessed by a crowd so Angelica can finally see just how much potential she really has. Fast forward to the next day, where tensions are high in the arena. Rick steps up to face Geith in a match that's as much about pride as it is about technique. The atmosphere is electric, complete with a whole host of onlookers ready for the fireworks. And Geith wastes no time trash-talking Angelica's abilities, fueling Rick's anger. Despite being capable of decimating his opponent with ease, Rick makes a conscious choice. He holds himself back. In a display of restraint, and perhaps a touch of cheeky mentorship, Rick fights at a level matching Angelica's skill. His inner monologue is a mix of, "I'm not doing this to embarrass you," and "Watch me show them what real power looks like," a balancing act that's both endearing and awesome. Refusing to accept Rick's measured approach, Geith unleashes his ultimate trump card, his bloodline technique. In a moment that's straight out of an over-the-top shonen climax, Geith transforms into a full-fledged dragon, complete with scales, fiery eyes, and an ego to match his new form. The arena erupts in a mix of shock and awe as our hero faces this literally monstrous foe. Even in his draconic form, Geith is no match for Rick. With a mix of controlled power and a sprinkle of that signature Ossan charm, Rick ultimately overwhelms the dragon. The final blow is as anticlimactic as it is epic, a clear reminder that sometimes less is more, especially when your strength is hidden beneath layers of self-doubt. As the dust settles, Rick takes a moment to reassure Angelica that her dreams are far from lost. With gentle words amid the lingering cheers of the crowd, he tells her that with more training and a bit more confidence, she'll only get stronger. A promise that even the perfect prodigy has room to grow. After the recent victory by Rick in the previous bout, self-pity, Snape laments his misfortunes, while Angelica Diarmuid boldly proclaims that her engagement to him is off, delivering a zinger that leaves Snape's pride in tatters. With the family drama still simmering, attends his opponent with both humor and genuine passion. Broston, on the other hand, fights with the quiet intensity of a warrior who's seen it all. In the climactic final moments, the episode opens with Rick, overwhelmed by the pressure of an impending showdown with his own mentor, Broston. Convinced that he might never match up to his legendary trainer's power, Rick locks himself away in his room. Cue the internal monologue of a middle-aged adventurer questioning his very existence. Maybe I should just stick to paperwork, or at least call in sick. Enter Mizette, the wise old half-elf, half-dwarf who explains in his own lackadaisical style that Broston's brutal training regimen was designed to forge someone who could stand toe-to-toe with him. He tells Rick that only someone who's nearly as stubborn, and maybe as crazy, as Broston can truly challenge an orc of his caliber. Rick listens, half amused and half horrified, realizing that his withdrawal might be a huge mistake. With Rick still sulking in isolation, Rionette swoops in with a mix of tough love and gentle encouragement. She tells him that he's not a retired clerk, he's Rick Gladiator, a member of the Orichalcum Fist, and he's got more fight in him than he thinks. Her words are both a lifeline and a cheeky reminder that sometimes even heroes need a kick in the pants to step back into the arena. It's fight day, and as Rick prepares himself for the battle, Rionette whispers words of encouragement into his ear. Lord, have mercy. Whatever she told him has got every muscle in Rick's body pumped up, and nothing can stop him now, not even Big Bro Broston. The fight begins, and the arena becomes a stage for one of the most emotionally charged and physically ridiculous brawls ever witnessed as Rick and Broston exchange blows. Every punch, every dodge, and every near miss is punctuated with dramatic close-ups of Rick's face, oscillating between panic, determination, and that classic Ossan smirk. Broston's excitement is palpable as he playfully taunts, "Come on, Rick, show me you can take a hit without turning into a puddle." After what feels like an eternity of punches, parries, and the occasional comedic slip, the match reaches a dramatic climax. Both Rick and Broston, bruised and exhausted, stand before one another. A teacher proud of his student, and a student happy that he could make the heartfelt dream of his teacher come true. As the scene comes to a close, both combatants brace themselves, ready to go all out in the final episode. Right out of the gate, we're treated to a flashback montage where Broston reveals his origin story. In dramatic fashion, he explains how he left behind his wild orc tribe and endured endless battles to chase after the legendary Kaiser Alsapiet. It's a mashup of heartfelt lore that sets the tone for the coming showdown. Back in the present, after hearing Broston's epic tale, Rick, ever the sentimental Ossan, decides to honor his mentor's journey in his own quirky way. Get it? With a gesture that's equal parts sincere and utterly absurd, Rick gives Broston the iconic orc quarter thumbs up. It's his way of saying, "I respect your struggle so much that I'm willing to stop dodging and just throw all I've got." Broston's face lights up with a mix of pride, amusement, and disbelief as he finally sees this elusive gesture that no one dared give him. As if the emotional tribute wasn't enough, the atmosphere quickly shifts to high-octane chaos. The match between Rick and Broston escalates into a no-holds-barred brawl. So intense is the confrontation that Mizette, acting as a reluctant crowd controller, evacuates nearly everyone, except for a core group of die-hard spectators including Angelica, Kelvin, and Snape. The protective barrier of the arena shatters under the ferocity of their blows, turning the venue into a literal wrecking ball of fists and fury. Cornered by the relentless barrage and nearly overwhelmed, Rick summons every ounce of his hidden potential. In a breathtaking moment, he unleashes his ultimate inherent skill, aptly named Reckless Soul. The move is so over the top that it looks like he's decided to go full balls deep in the middle of a fistfight. Both Rick and Broston exchange a series of blows that, thanks to Rick's unleashed power, seem evenly matched to the point where the fight ends in a perfect, if not slightly absurd, draw. Both warriors pass out in a simultaneous collapse. Days later, Rick awakens to find Rionette sitting next to him, as well as the champion's belt on his bed, proof that his reckless brawl earned him a place in the history books. The Yellow King's Stone, a coveted magical gem, has been acquired at long last. However, in a twist of humility, both Rick and Broston refuse to claim the champion title for themselves. The mantle, it seems, falls on Kelvin, who reluctantly becomes the de facto champion. As the dust settles, Orichalcum Fist gathers together for the journey home. Angelica gently tells Rick that she'll be receiving further training from Broston himself, a quiet promise that even after all the explosive battles and emotional roller coasters, life goes on. We can take comfort in the thought that every ending is merely the beginning of a new adventure. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please smash that like and subscribe button to help the channel grow. And I'll see you all on the next anime adventure.